Good morning, my Real News Midday TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning for another news update for Sunday, September 7, 2025. And I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, no relief for elderly SSL victim. A 78-year-old woman is in despair after learning that she is not among the defrauded clients of Stocks and Securities Limited receiving payouts from a compensation fund distribution for which began 2 Mondays ago. The elderly woman, who spoke with the news on condition of anonymity, said that she lost her $60 million inheritance in the SSL debacle. However, she said she was informed she would not be a beneficiary of the 4.5% distribution from the SSL Victims Compensation Fund, which will ensure approved claimants recover a fraction of their losses at this point in time. The reason for her exclusion, the elderly woman said, is because her funds had been placed in junk bonds, which are often referred to as high-yield bonds and carry higher risk, according to Investopedia. I put out a happy smiling face to everybody, but I haven't recovered. What's going to happen to me? I know I have my kids, but I just have this hopeless, helpless feeling because it's all the money that I had in the world, she shared. The woman said she inherited the money from her father's business and after weighing her options, chose to invest it in SSL. For about a year, she received the interest payments but got a gut feeling to withdraw the money. She said her attempts to withdraw the funds were twice discouraged by the firm. In January 2023, she woke up to news of the SSL scandal, which centers on an estimated $4.7 billion case of fraud that impacted more than 200 investors, including track icon Usain Bolt. I had to go to the doctor and get put on tranquilizers because it was very, very bad in the beginning. Anytime it comes up, it starts me up again. And I wonder why I did turn to SSL. But that is a question I can't even answer myself, she said. According to the elderly woman, investigations revealed that her signature had reportedly been forged and her funds placed in junk bond investments, which she said she now understands has left her off the list of victims to benefit from the relief fund. While acknowledging that junk bonds is not a characterization provided by himself or as far as he is aware, any member of the team engaged in the winding up of SSL, Trustee Cadian Campbell explained to the news that the VCF was established by majority vote of the attendees at the first meeting of creditors and claimants held on October 25, 2024. The objective of the VCF is to pay out funds recovered specifically to the victims of the fraud alleged to have been committed by former SSL employee Jean Ann Panton, Campbell said. He said too that some of the clients who would consider themselves SSL victims are claimants with impaired investments, which is distinct from the specific victims of the alleged fraudulent activities of Panton. These claimants may have been given bad investment advice and/or their funds were invested in high-risk instruments that are not readily realizable, that is convertible to cash, Campbell said. These impaired investment instruments remain a part of the client's portfolios. However, any distribution is contingent on the actual realization of these investments. These claimants with impaired investments are not entitled to a distribution from the SSL Victims Compensation Fund, he added. Campbell confirmed that so far, approximately 47 claims have been identified as eligible for a payout. These represent claims for which there is strong indication of unauthorized withdrawals of actual cash from their client accounts relating to the fraudulent activities alleged to have been carried out by Ms. Panton, Campbell said. But for claimants whose money is tied up in impaired investment, there is still no relief. Whilst efforts continue to see if there can be some realizations from these impaired investments, nothing has materialized to date. Therefore, no funds are available to make a distribution to these claimants with impaired investments, the SSL trustee said. Still, the elderly woman insisted that more must be done to ensure accountability. PICA targeted in cyber incident on Saturday. Services at the Passport, Immigration and the Citizenship Agency were affected by a cyber incident on Saturday. PICA, confirming the breach, said a quick and decisive action by the ICT team limited the impact of the breach with its responses, including containing the threat, notifying the relevant regulatory authorities, and beginning the process of systems and operational recovery. As a precaution, PICA has moved some of its systems offline. It said based on preliminary investigations, there was no indication that any personal data have been compromised. Investigations are still underway to determine the full scope of the incident. As the response teams continue to probe the incident, members of the public may experience some delays in accessing some services, according to PICA. The agency said it is continuing to work with MOCA and the Jamaica Cyber Incident Response Team to restore full operations. Final count for September 3 general election completed in 57 constituencies. The Electoral Office of Jamaica has reported that up to 6 p.m. Saturday, the final count for the September 3, 2025 parliamentary general election had been completed in 57 constituencies. Approximately 97% of the 7,294 boxes across the island were counted up to that time. The counting of ballots continues for the other 6 constituencies by returning officers in the presence of the candidates and/or their representatives. The Electoral Office of Jamaica continues to appeal to the public for patience as it goes through the counting process. Final count confirms Burchell's win in St. James Southern. The People's National Party's Nikisha Burchell has been confirmed as the winner in St. James Southern. The final count ended Saturday night at the Cambridge Resources Center in the constituency with 6,483 votes for Burchell and 6,284 for the former Member of Parliament, Homer Davis. There was no change in Burchell's tally from Wednesday's preliminary count, and while the Jamaica Labour Party's Davis picked up an additional 8 votes, he still lost by 199 votes. Speaking with the news after the final count, Burchell said she will now move ahead with the work she was elected to do. The official count has confirmed what the people of South St. James declared on Election Day, and I am deeply honored by their trust, she said. My mandate is clear, I must deliver. I expect to push forward with or without government support, but I do hope that the government will honor its obligations fairly to all members of Parliament, whether they are PNP or JLP, Burchell added. Mask wearing by police still an issue despite improvements. The wearing of face masks by police while conducting routine law enforcement duties, including traffic stops and searches, remains an issue despite improved adherence to the proper dress code, according to the Independent Commission of Investigations. Indecom Assistant Commissioner Hamish Campbell, while lauding the police for improvements in their uniform visibility, told the news that legislation is clear on whether masks should be worn by lawmen. Certain environments, dust, fire, smoke, etc., will cause and permit some officers to wear masks, and of course, in COVID, they all wore them, but it is by no means routine or normalized now. The old JCF Book of Rules for the guidance and the general direction of the JCF indicated masks were not permitted, he said. In April, Jamaicans for Justice indicated that it had received several reports of police and soldiers wearing balaclavas and a face mask while on duty, and called on the JCF and the Jamaica Defense Force to make public any mask-wearing policies they have enforced. When contacted by the news, Senior Superintendent of Police Stephanie Lindsay refused to detail the situations in which lawmen are allowed to wear masks. There are circumstances where police are allowed to wear masks. Those are circumstances that are approved at a senior level and that it can be for different reasons, SSP Lindsay, who is the head of the Constabulary Communications Network, said. Masks are not a part of the everyday general wear, but there are circumstances where members of the force are allowed to wear masks based on the sensitivity of the operation and the sensitive areas in which those individuals work. The SSP indicated that while the circumstances under which cops are allowed to wear masks vary, they must receive permission from their superiors to use the face covering. There are some operational exercises for which, and some units, that people may be permitted to wear those masks, and in those instances there is supposed to be pre-approval, she explained. Indicom's Campbell pointed out that the issue of cops wearing masks and balaclavas emerged long before the onset of COVID-19 that resulted in the promotion of mask wearing as a means to slow the spread of the disease. The issue of the security forces wearing masks and face coverings was addressed as far back as 2011 and 2012 by Indicom. At that time, it was a significant issue and an aspect of security force policing which had become routine. The wearing of masks and face coverings was and is not permitted, he stressed. Acknowledging that the issue persists, Campbell said it does occur still, but it is not an issue which is commented upon, and really quite infrequently. Compared to 2012, Indicom said that currently, law enforcers are more correctly dressed. Their names, badges, and regulation numbers are far more visible on their new uniforms and are also on their vest. Despite this, the news recently observed police personnel in and around the corporate area wearing face coverings at what appeared to be traffic stops, as well as at the scene of accidents. In one instance, a policeman's face was almost completely covered by a balaclava as he directed traffic. In addressing whether the wearing of masks while conducting traffic stops was within protocol, Lindsay said the police officers who work in the traffic department usually have their faces open, so you wouldn't on a day-to-day basis see traffic officers wearing masks. Meanwhile, Campbell said he could not recall any reports made to Indicom about the traffic stops specifically, but noted the Commission is aware of mobile videos that show officers in masks conducting searches. This, Campbell said, goes against the principle. The JCF is supposed to be an open and transparent public service and to provide accountability to citizens. Thus, the wearing of face coverings, which obscure identity, cause alarm and fear, is not conducive to a citizen-based police force. Face masks are not a part of the official JCF uniform, as far as Indicom is aware, Campbell said. Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.